The Marcus Walker began because life is really about walking and letting yourself be surprised by what can happen. But many times we're stuck in a routine and we're no longer truly walkers. What happened to me is that I went to give a talk at a retreat in Argentina, and then the pandemic hit, and from there I stayed in Argentina for 3 months, locked up, forced to follow procedures. But after 3 months, I decided I didn't want to be there forever, so I started walking. I left Buenos Aires and went through different cities in Argentina. When I arrived in Mendoza, Argentina, I crossed into Chile. In Chile, I crossed the entire Andes mountain range and passed through Peru and Ecuador. In 2021, I arrived in Colombia. My life is being a walker. My life is walking. I don't have a home, and I'm free to let myself flow wherever life truly takes me. I would like to invite you to observe the word pranic. It still causes a lot of confusion among people. Prana is the word for subtle energy. In China, they use the word qi. In Japan, they use ki. In Europe, they use or. That is the energy that is truly present within us. It is the energy that moves everything we see physically. So many always have the idea and the illusion that prana is something external to humans, but prana is already within humans. Prana is what moves what we already are, which, after all, are just atoms and cells. So the origin of life is within, not outside. Because many have the idea of looking for the source of energy outside, so they look for the source of energy in the sun, food, liquids, but everything they are looking for is already within us. I invite people to observe prana as an aspect. The other word that causes a lot of confusion is breatharianism, because we're actually born breatharians. Breatharianism means breathing. From the moment we're born, we're breatharians. You don't have to do anything to be a breatharian. You're a breatharian from birth, and you live off air from birth. The word breatharian makes people think they have to follow a process, technique, or something to be a breatharian, but you don't have to do anything to be what you already are. So, what is eating and drinking? Eating and drinking is a habit. It's a habit the body gets used to, and from this habit, the body becomes addicted. And since we believe this and base ourselves on the belief, we manifest it. The body gets used to the drug food and there's an emotional addiction. Then you cover up your emotions or anxiety with a drug, and often the drug you use is food. It's not about doing something foreign and looking for something outside. So it's important to understand the cause of anxiety, and the solution isn't switching from one drug to another. The solution is to understand the cause to eliminate it. This can be easily observed in alcoholism when a person stops drinking alcohol and starts smoking, and changing each habit isn't a solution. That's why my invitation is to experiment and observe for yourself. Right now, people are based on beliefs. They think they have to eat and think they have to drink, but the source of life isn't physical. The source is within you, and you are the source. This can be observed very easily. You can observe through a corpse. If we truly live from the physical or something external, life should exist in a corpse if you inject it with vitamins. From there, I always invite you to observe. The source of energy is within us. Just from that observation, it should be clear that people don't need food or drink. It's not necessary to do anything. Those are the main points I saw that confuse people a lot. But in reality, the pranic source is within us, and we are breatharians from birth. People who consume every day are addicts. The body has become accustomed to toxins, and that's why you crave them. Another point is emotional, where the drug helps you calm anxiety instead of observing what causes each person's fatigue. Anxiety comes mainly when you do activities you don't want to do. For a person to be happy, you have to let yourself go like a child. Many ask me to give them a technique, like looking at the sun or breathing in a certain way. But the source of energy doesn't come from outside. The source of energy is complex for many to understand because we've been programmed to believe that energy comes from outside and what we need comes from outside. But that's not the case. I want to invite you to observe that the source of energy is you inside. This is an invitation to observe. In death, the source of energy, your essence, leaves the body. The source is like a glass full of water. You can't fill a full glass anymore. You have to look at what takes away the energy, people are full of energy, like a glass full of water, but you have to see what takes away the energy, not how to fill the glass that's already full. We have to reflect, what have I done to cause me to lack energy at a given moment? Then the question arises, why do we eat? People believe the source is external and there is nothing within us. People think the source of energy is something external like the sun, food, or whatever, but the body has only become accustomed to the need to consume, so the strongest thing afterward is the emotional. With food and the actions we take, we primarily seek love. We were taught to eat through our parents, through school. We have been taught to eat, and we want our mother's attention and social acceptance. So, subconsciously, if we eat, it is because we seek love in food. I don't want you to believe me. That would be like changing from one belief to another. I invite you to observe. To understand what's happening to your body, it's important to let go of beliefs and start playing. You can begin exploring fasting, you can start with intermittent fasting and play with the detox experience, but you can also explore the intoxication game when you decide to eat again. I've observed the intoxication phase and the detox phase in my life. My life consists of consuming something roughly every 15 days. The same with liquids. I eat or drink as a game, not as a necessity. The body adapts to not consuming liquids. It's a very simple and easy adaptation. But when you make it a habit to drink again, the body gets used to drinking again. I've observed that the food game requires a certain awareness, so my life is living off nothing, because I have nothing. I only have a backpack with a few clothes, and that's it. And from there I go from place to place. If I can, I use a vehicle, and if I can't, I walk. Not only have I let go of the need for the idea of food, I've also let go of the idea of needing the system. I don't depend on anything. I don't depend on food, I don't depend on money, I don't depend on a place. When I started walking, I realized that the best place I can be is under the sky, in the 1,000-star hotel. When I say I've freed myself from the system, I mean sometimes I'm free even without a passport. I'm not attached to the system. As I mentioned, I came from Argentina, crossing mountains and rivers to reach Colombia free, and when you're free, no one can stop you from your freedom. When you become dependent, you want something from the system, like a house, food, a car, or anything. I enjoy being free, and if a car wants to take me, I let it take me, but I don't seek it out. Besides being a walker, I also invite people to share time with others on retreats. I share my experiences with life, being free as a walker, but also freeing myself from food and understanding what food is. Food is a habit, nothing more, nothing less. Very simple and easy to understand. On the days I don't consume anything, I do dry fasting. It's beautiful. I enjoy the dry fast of eating and drinking nothing. The moment you free yourself, you can enjoy and play when there's no dependence and no idea of need. In that moment, you play, but if consumption becomes a habit, it becomes an addiction. Many people think I'm very bored and that I don't feel anything. On the other hand, I am completely fulfilled. I am completely filled with joy and happiness within myself. I don't seek anything outside of myself. So I'm in harmony, and everything is perfect in that aspect. So I am in emotional balance. I understood where the cause of emotion lies. Emotion is a lie. People fall into the trap of emotion. Emotion is born in food, money, and love. Emotional attachment to your family, for example, is what causes imbalances. I don't fall into those traps because that's what causes emotion, and emotion causes anxiety, and when you feel anxiety, you often turn to food. It's good to detoxify the body and stop being emotionally attached to food. But being thin or fat doesn't come from the amount of food one consumes. Fat and thin happen because of what food represents to each person. But by detoxifying the body and removing all the junk that doesn't serve it, you'll lose weight, but then the person will return to a normal weight. Personally, if I do a lot of physical activity, my legs get stronger and my muscles adapt to the need. It's something divine to observe. But the root is the mental representation of food and each person's interpretation of it. I've also observed obese people who wanted to lose weight and couldn't lose weight even when they ate little because it starts in the head, how one interprets oneself. The environment in which the person is important, to the extent that the person connects with the surroundings. I'm relaxed now, or walking along a river. I'm relaxed, but at first I observe that people in the city feel tense and hungry. Then you can observe that you're absorbing other people's anxiety. Your anxiety can be influenced by the environment. The environment often affects people. I've experienced it personally as well, but you get hooked on something that isn't yours because you are whole and perfect in essence until you begin to fight with yourself in the city. That fight with yourself leads to anxiety. That anxiety leads to the feeling of wanting to cover up and soothe instead of observing and not believing that suffering that isn't real. It's good to understand why we give importance to something that isn't important. The easiest thing is to observe death or the loss of a person or loved ones or whatever. You feel something emotionally, but in reality, it's a lie because death itself doesn't exist. Death is just a change of body, but you give importance to the word death and loss. That's where you suffer. If you're in the countryside or near trees, at peace, and when you leave that comfort zone, friction sets in, and that friction is felt. It's good to observe why you give importance to the place. If you're fulfilled inside, the place shouldn't have any relevance. We shouldn't be influenced by the external environment. For many, I see that they put emphasis on how they look. Personally, I don't care how I look. For me, the important thing is that I feel happy and complete. Your body adapts to the energy. When you start walking, certain muscles begin to develop. This is how the body's needs adapt to what I'm doing. On the other hand, I've experienced freedom, and when you no longer need anything, it automatically gives you peace within. The three things that truly take away peace are food, money, belongings, and relationships. So if you're constantly searching, there's no peace within you. Once you let go of that search, you're at peace. Physically, my body adapts, but the most beautiful thing is the tranquility and peace that lies within each of us. We must instead observe what takes away each person's peace. What takes away each person's peace is illusion. Peace vanishes when I give importance to something that isn't important. The world is there to be explored as a child and nothing more. But when I play, I don't give importance to that platform. It's an invitation to people to play in life.